2007-2008 Crossroads season was an exciting one, focusing on everything from cinema to economics to Antonio Gaudi's masterpiece, the Sagrada Familia Cathedral in Barcelona, as well as the historic visit of Pope Benedict XVI to the United States.
The season began in New York at the School of Visual Arts with a presentation entitled Sculpting a Movie, the analogy between the filmmaking process and human experience. The evening featured Sal Petrosino, director of SVA's Film, Video, and Animation departments, Richard Pepperman, professor of editing, and Armando Fumagalli, director of the master's program in screenwriting at the Catholic University of Milan. The evening focused on the creative process from screenwriting to editing, and how the presentiment of meaning is what is needed in order to generate visual images that reveal the truth beneath the surface. In Washington, we began the season with Anne Kruger, former chairperson of the International Monetary Fund and professor of international economics at Johns Hopkins University. Kruger addressed market turbulence with specific reference to the subprime lending crisis and its effects on the long-term economy. On November 13th, January 16th, and February 28th, we continued our series entitled Beauty Will Save the World, first discussing Shakespeare's sonnets with National Endowments for the Arts Chair and renowned poet Donna Gioia, moving on to an evening of Jack Kerouac with the most prominent historian of California, Professor Kevin Starr. Finally, Paul Ely, senior editor at Farrar, Straus & Giroux and author of The Life You Save May Be Your Own, spoke to us about his experience researching and writing about Flannery O'Connor and how her work, along with that of Walker Percy, Dorothy Day, and Thomas Merton, reflects not so much a Catholic moment as much as the output of four exceptional individuals who responded to a call to be both Catholic and an artist at a particular point in the history of American letters. On October 15th in New York, Crossroads Advisory Board member Massimo Roberto, one of the chief scientists working on the Hubble telescope, spoke to us about star formation in the telescope's latest images. And on November 1st, we addressed the issue of health care reform with Dr. Edmund Pellegrino, chairman of the President's Council on Bioethics, Peter Steinfels, New York Times religion columnist, Advisory Board member Daniel Solmazzi, director of New York Medical College's Bioethics Institute, and Marilyn Weiner of Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. In November and December, Advisory Board member Francis Green gave a series of lectures over the course of a few weeks on religious awareness in the history of art, from prehistoric times up through the 20th century. And on December 9th, Crossroads sponsored the Communion and Liberation Choir's annual Festival of Lessons and Carols, held at St. Paul's Chapel, Columbia University.
In January, in order to launch the publication in English of Luigi Giussani's Is It Possible to Live This Way?, leader of Communion and Liberation, Julian Caron, along with Monsignor Lorenzo Albacete, another Crossroads Advisory Board member, Professor Robert Pollack, and Professor Joseph Weiler, filled NYU's Skirball Center for the Performing Arts in order to discuss the relationship between faith and reason.
In March, Albacete returned to Crossroads in order to discuss what the upcoming presidential election reflects about the state of the American soul with Hendrik Hertzberg, executive editor of The New Yorker, and Marvin Olasky, professor of journalism at the University of Texas at Austin. The high point of our year took place on April 9th in New York and April 11th in Washington, when, in anticipation of the Holy Father's visit, Crossroads organized two events entitled Only Something Infinite Will Suffice, a discussion of the teachings of Pope Benedict XVI and their relevance to American culture. The list of speakers included Celestino Migliore, Apostolic Nuncio of the Holy See to the United Nations, Pietro Sambi, Apostolic Nuncio of the Holy See to the United States, Monsignor Lorenzo Albacete, Carl Anderson, Supreme Knight of the Knights of Columbus, CNN Senior Vatican Analyst John Allen Jr., Father Richard John Neuhaus, Editor-in-Chief of First Things, and Advisory Board member David Schindler, Dean of the John Paul II Institute for Marriage and Family Studies, Editor-in-Chief of Communio. Another collaborative event between Crossroads New York and Crossroads Washington took place on April 30th in New York and May 2nd in Washington, when chief sculptor of the Sagrada Familia Cathedral in Barcelona, Ettore Sotu, spoke to audiences about what it means to carry on the legacy of Antonio Gaudí, and how his vocation as a sculptor consists not so much in following Gaudí as in following, in Sotu's own words, that which Gaudí followed. In June, composers Jonathan Fields and Riro Maniscalco gave presentations on everything from folk music to blues and jazz, as well as an analysis of great American composers such as Charles Ives, all under the aegis of a music appreciation course entitled American Music, The Unanswered Question.
A new program we've undertaken this year is Crossroads on the Road, a program of traveling Crossroads events that can come to local communities. Crossroads blog, Paper Clippings, continues to expand with new tools and ideas, including a downloadable widget for your Mac or PC. 2008-2009 season promises to be a stimulating one, thanks to your support.